Oh my god, I'm so excited to meet you, Clinton. So I'm here today at Starlandia interviewing Clinton, who is the owner. And the first thing I want to ask is, what inspired you to open up the business?
A lot of different stuff, really. I think the whole idea of sort of a space where you can bring stuff in and then get credit and then take it back out is really, I mean, that's called a marketplace. And I think it's a really good thing to create more marketplaces in the world, and I think Savannah especially could use an arts marketplace where it wasn't about the artwork necessarily, it was about the products that were put into creating artwork. So you bring in used art supplies and then we give you in-store credit, which you can use to purchase anything else in the store except for the printing that we do. And so what that's been able to do is that some people just come in to purchase stuff, which is awesome for sure.
So me so far.
Yeah, and then we've also had another group of people who have figured out how to make Starlandia work for them. They're employing it as a tool and as a means to generate more value with what they had, which was formerly valueless after they used it. One magical part of it is that we're able to bring value back to these old supplies. We organize stuff and we put it together, and so like you're organized into fabrics and drawing materials. Lots of drawing supplies. We have everything from Sharpies to Sharpie rip-offs. Here's a pencil tied in a knot. It's a chalk holder.
There's a ton of house paint. There's like gloss, acrylics.
Used color pencils in a fascinating array of colors. Red,
Play stuff.
yellow,
Yarn.
all the blues.
I can open it.
We have some legless man.
I don't even know what these are for.
All this paper, all this, all like, you know, everything from textbooks to instructional books to philosophy and interesting nonfiction and fiction.
We've got these tiles here. I mean, like
All sorts of stuff. We also have new supplies, and we buy those from, you know, new supply warehouse. I'd say 95% of what we have is all used or brought in, which has been amazing. People bring in just the most interesting, lively things.
yeah, I've definitely spotted some very unique things.
Yeah.
Lots of things with character.
Yeah. Some of the stuff is unused but reclaimed, like this. You know, this is totally new.
Origami folding papers.
It was $13, now it's $5. So we spend a lot of time just organizing stuff. Like once you start like really getting into it, you can just like do this all day long.
So even if you have a bunch of junk, you can bring it here and you'll organize it, right?
Exactly. And once something's organized, then it becomes valuable. And I think that's a big part of sort of the whole human story, is organization of materials.
I love the recycling effect. We've seen this before with other businesses like Civies, or if anybody likes to go to boutique a little bit. Now we have a boutique for artists.
Yes.
So it's very cool. I love that whole aspect. You mentioned Starlandia's print shop?
So one of the other ideas was to jumpstart a zine scene in Savannah, and there was no means to do that. And now with the printer that we have, it can also staple and fold paper together and create zines almost automatically.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. This printer it really interests me I think more than it usually should, because it's the first robot that I've ever employed, and it would be insubstantially expensive for me to pay somebody to fold and print stuff.
That's true.
Now I just, you know, hit a button and the robot does it.
Very
It's kind
easy.
of interesting. It's kind of my first playing with robot technology.
This has suddenly popped up and has become a big deal in the arts community, and you haven't been open very long. When did you open?
We opened on May 28th. I signed the lease to this place on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day.
Oh my
And
god!
took 58 days to open it up from there.
Okay.
Which in Savannah is very quick. It is kind of cool. Like, if you think back on April 1st, like, none of this was here. You know? There were leaves, like, covering the door, and there was a wall here.
Well, I'm very excited to see this whole part of town develop, because the Art March has that little indie market right there sometimes. And I think that this is going to be a little arts area with Sulphur Studios right there, the Worm Hall. I mean, there are some, you know, there's some rough parts, but I think that we can put it back together, kind of clean it up. What is the Starlandia District?
It's a burgeoning art community, geographically located in between Savannah's historic district and the rest of the world. And because of that, it's this really interesting interstitial space that not only represents, I think, the most diverse part of Savannah, but also the most interesting and progressive and potentially, I think, most changeable. It currently has a sort of an underground feel, but also like an above ground approach. And I think that's going to be substantial to how successful Starland is as an area. And so Starlandia, it was key that this place was here. I mean, this wasn't like just because it's a great great store. You know, I think the other part is that Starland has a lot of potential and it needed help. And as much as I'm being able to help Starlandia is able to help me. And it's this sort of like mutual thing that I'm liking to play right now. So
That's
I think
awesome.
it's really key.
So the big question I want to ask you is, you guys have already put a foot here so quickly. And to me, you've already made a name for yourselves. This is a big deal to me. So who do you guys want to be in Savannah? What do you want to give to the art community?
When you look at art, there's three parts of art being made. There's the education of art, there's the production of art, and then there's the distribution of art. And I feel like we have education down. We have an amazing art school here. And then there was also the distribution of art, which we're still actively working on. And I think a lot of the work that I'm doing with ArtRight Savannah is more about distribution of artwork. And then you come to the production side of art, and we have an increased amount of studios that are opening up, such as like Sulphur Studios and spaces where people can make. But one thing that's lacking from that is, where do the raw materials for the production of artwork come from? And so that's one part where Starlandia comes in. And in order for any of this to work, all of these need to be working at this together, collectively, and in some sort of synchronized movement. There's the education, production, and distribution of cultural goods, and figuring out what those are and how to get them to the people who want them.
Very true.
And so I feel that... What was the question again?
Who do you want to be in the art community?
There's nobody in the art community yet that I want to be like. There's nothing like
you
this
just want to be here for
this
it.
This is an absolutely novel approach to re-energizing materials in Savannah. There's nobody in this town that I'm trying to emulate, because nobody's doing this. It's beyond Savannah. If you look, people come in from Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit, New York, LA, San Francisco, Portland, and they're always like, wow, we don't have anything like this. And those are from very developed cities, and so there's definitely a capacity and an opportunity for growth in that regard.
What do you see hindering the art scene right now? Is there anything in particular? What's... Because I will tell you, I'm from a small town in like Kentucky, like Paducah, Kentucky. I've studied fine arts. I'm not a SCAD student, but they have a very tightly knit arts community.
Yeah.
And I don't really see, you know, it's not that tightly knit here. So what are the obstacles that we have to overcome in order to create an art community that supports itself?
I really like thinking about this stuff in more economic terms, which is sometimes a little bit cold, but I tend to do
No,
that,
I
so
do too.
Whatever. I think we need more of a marketplace and more distribution systems. I also think that when people come to Savannah, they look at SCAD as being, well, they've already done that. That's simply not the case. SCAD's not in the business of developing an art community. They're in the business of selling an education, which they do a great job at. But because they are an art college, it's easily looked over that they're doing the work that we actually need to be doing. And so when people are like, oh, SCAD's got it.
Yeah.
But they actually don't. And so I think that has, for the past decade or more, sort of skewed the playing field in terms of how any sort of production or distribution market for cultural goods in Savannah would be developed. And because of that, it's sort of, I think, kind of paralyzed a little bit. And we're kind of just coming out of that paralyzation, and I think, you know, the recession in 2008, as well as all the other challenges, I mean, just sort of like everything from racial to economic to geographic and climate as well, that Savannah will be playing through. However, I do think that on top of all those challenges, that's actually what's going to make something really interesting, is that specifically because it will be difficult, it will be amazing. I think the arts is a great economic development asset that's sometimes overlooked, especially in Savannah, which is weird because there's so many examples of art being an incredibly effective tool at economic development and sort of community rebuilding.
The thing is, there is such a great demand here. You guys have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can provide people. So I'm very excited to see what it becomes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very excited as well. It's been a blast putting it together.
Cool.
And it's very fun painting the walls purple.
Yeah! Cool.
Yeah.